What's going on, guys? My name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video. And today we have a new questions and answers. It's not the one I teased, I'm still waiting for the translation of that one to be perfect. But this is one which was made with Andrei Bilecki and Maxim Juvalov and was live on the NA developer stream. And it was with Cody, 13 Disciple and Nick Shocks. I was looking into it a little bit and some things were very exciting, and a huge thanks to Cody Menace for writing it all down, being the protocol guy, it looks like, or WoT Guru at least was the protocol guy, if I'm looking at correctly, which is amazing. So now let's just jump right in and have a look at what Wargaming has to tell us. And the first thing being, will tanks rebalancing? Was just a main question. Going to start with increasing effect in damaging via increased terrain penalty. Then go forward to nerf other aspects if that does not have enough effect. What does it mean? Basically, if you are getting shot in the wheels and the wheels are getting damaged, you are going to get slowed down even more. Which makes sense in my opinion, because at the moment it just really doesn't feel to be that bad when you are getting hit by those wheels, in those wheels, at least just one. So that's a pretty decent step in the right direction. I still also would love to see to get more experience based on spotting. You know, when you are, for example, hitting the wheels of a wheel tank, you're getting spot damage for it when it gets damaged, because in the end, you are hindering its mobility, like you would do in a tracked tank, you know. So that would be a very decent thing. Next up, fire mechanic. Does a tank on fire go out faster if you're not moving? That is not true. Fire doesn't change based on other parameters, such as movement. Maybe it was true in the beginning of the game, but this is an error in the wiki, because that is actually something I personally did believe in, because it was written in the wiki and I have very high regards and very high respect of the wiki. That's something I learned a lot from in those pages. But yeah, apparently this is wrong. It was just right now confirmed by those two developers, which is great to see. Also, Andrei Bilecki, he is the creative director, and Maxim Juvalov is the publishing director. So just so you know in what parts of the company they are working on. Balancing of the game. Why does it take so long to rebalance overperforming tanks? My goodness, I absolutely love how direct those questions were, especially on the live stream. You could a little bit feel those two guys, Maxim and Andrei, sometimes being a little bit sweaty that they had to be so exposed to those questions. But kudos to them for answering truthfully, really, kudos. It takes times. Sometimes 1 to 2 quarters to get this rebalancing done. Group of early adopters that overperform in new tanks, that obviously is the case, for example, at the beginning of the EBR. You were already like, oh my goodness, they are so good, why is it so broken? This makes sense, I could see that. 3 to 6 months is bad idea to change things. I kind of disagree with that one. I think after 3 months you need to find your first conclusion, in my personal opinion, when you are looking at games like League of Legends, which was also something they put out as an example as far as I can remember. But yeah, if we move too fast, it might need changing again. So I want to point out this little thing right here is, I personally think, very bad, because saying that it needs something is being too fast, or you need to make more changes, just sounds like laziness, you know? In an MMORPG, in a massive multiplayer game in general, you have to constantly tweak every single thing. Oh, this is loose, I gotta tighten this. This is not great. This is not great. You know, maybe, oh, this is not great. Every single day you have to look through things to do and do balancing again. I have high regards of League of Legends, because Riot Games does an incredible job when it comes to balancing, in my personal opinion, as somebody which is a casual player and can get gold elo. It is very nice to see how quickly and how often there is balancing. Maybe a little bit too often for some people's taste with the constant meta shift. But saying if we move too fast it might need changing again just implies that you don't really want to change all that much, which is, in my opinion, a very slippery slope. We check to see if win rate changes on player-by-player basis. For example, a 50% player has a 48 to 52% win rate in a new tank, then it's okay. If a 50% player has a 65% win rate in a new tank, then it's probably broken. Well, I don't know. This also is a little bit of a weird thing to say. Yes, when I get salty and I look at, for example, a guy with 48% win rate and has 54 in a 430U, I get salty, obviously. But it also is kind of weird. People do get better at the game, you know? So what are you basing this off? It's a little bit vague, so I'm not entirely happy with that one. Next question. We just saw collector's vehicle category be added to the game. Are there any plans to release new non-premium tanks that would fit into the main tech tree as collection tanks? What with collections vehicles being added, is there a chance we might see a multinational tank collection? Collector's vehicle, lots of ideas, but more important matters right now. They're saying there are many ideas for this thing, but we have to wait a little bit. Long-term plans to add tanks in the collection tanks. There are some. We can't share any information yet. It's a tool that opens up possibility to add in tanks that we did not have before. Argentine tanks, Hungarian tanks. What criteria to unlock these tanks? Potentially, they do not know yet. Considered the last year to add in a multinational tech tree. It is in the backlog since it wasn't feasible before tank collections. So maybe we actually get a tank with the new collections mechanic. We will probably get a new, a new multinational tank tree. Would be interesting. Maybe for this one you have to, have unlocked 3 or 4 different tier 10s on different nations. Maybe, maybe we say let's for example say we want to have an Austrian tech tree. So let's just say you have to have at least Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Germany on each of those trees at least one tier 10, Well, for the Czechs and for the Polish, it's obviously, 60p and TVP. But then you could say now you can get those tanks, you can buy them because, Austria is around Czechoslovakia or back in the days Czechoslovakia. Please don't kill me if I'm saying anything geopolitically wrong. But I think you get what I mean, that you probably have to find different nations or smaller nations first. Heck, maybe Australia has already some tanks, or could have in theory some potential high-tier tanks. Heck, then you'd say America and Great Britain, you have to have there at least one tier 10 tank. On each, I don't know. So yeah, that's a pretty decent thing. Sandbox testing and ammo changes. Max says it's really complex and it's lots of stuff. We decided to split it up and do some changes down the road in later patches after developing them further. So that is a good thing, seriously. The more we have balancing every single patch, the greater. Very good kudos for saying that they have to split it up. Andre, collection of different features not meant to come in all in one patch. For example, the tank HP from 1 to 6 tech tree changes, guarantee at the moment nothing else will happen without another sandbox test. So HE premium rounds will be safe for another sandbox change, so that is interesting. Particularly premium shells and shell changes rated very highly. However, HE changes and SPGs were not very popular. Yes, those are bad, but I don't get the SPG changes. Just drop the AP rounds and rebalance a little bit the price for damaging rounds, but I liked the idea that stun did less damage, or the stun rounds did less damage. That's just me, and I said it countless times. At the moment, we don't want to change one without changing the other. They need to be changed at the same time. We roll back those changes, and we are doing the next big iteration of shell changes down the road. Next up, have you ever considered changing shell speed, normalization, Oranjee for specific shells? That is a very, very good question, and something, it's like a little bit of a Pandora's box. When you are changing, for example, for one tank or for one tank's shell, the sigma value, how will it affect other tanks? Do you now have to change for every single other tank its sigma values? I was thinking that sometimes it would be great to say that as a national treat, German guns have a better sigma value, meaning that their curve is actually the one we want to not get right now with the corona crisis. For example, let's say Russians are maybe inaccurate guns, so they have a flatter curve, so have a larger distribution. While on Germans, we would have a bad curve in corona term viruses, but it's very tight and everything is more concentrated around the middle, while there are very, very little outliers, But they're saying at the moment we are not trying to change those different values. Try to do sigma changes, but they didn't end up working well. We want free shells to have all different reasons to use, and we want to make it more complicated And we don't want to make it more complicated by changing things such as changing Oranjee, normalization, etc. I don't know, I'm not really happy with this answer. Sure, they do internal tests, but come on, you have a test server, just get it out and at least give us an option as well, I don't know. Andre, story of playing the same map over and over. They say we didn't change anything outside of making sure people don't see the same map within 7 battles. Almost all complaints disappeared about map repeating. They do, however, say that this is obviously also a bit of confirmation bias for people. However, I do want to point out I had several occasions where I had the same map twice behind each other, and this is video proof out there on my Twitch channel, and yeah. Next up. Why do premium shells cost more? Aren't these pay for advantage? Are you considering normalization the shell cost? This was an excellent question. It was absolutely amazing that that I think it was Cody which asked this question. I'm not entirely sure. And well, the answer is yes and no. We considered that. Let's start with no. The way we determine the cost is effective damage per minute. Probably the cost damage times damage value. Specific shells have higher effective DPM, thus the higher cost. One of the tasks is trying to resolve once we figure out damage, since the more damage the more standard rounds cost. Means we will adjust prices after we figured out the shell mechanics. That's a little bit weird as an answer, but I kind of get where they want to go, they want to balance, but the one big thing is, I personally don't like the fact that shell rebalancing shouldn't be done around the cost of the shell, I personally think. Because that just screams of the pay to win, you know, or pay to have an advantage, as it's literally right here. You have to have a premium account to probably shoot out some rounds, you know. Point is, you can, for example, perform with normal rounds. There is no doubt in that. Just look at Ionics, which free marked the 279 with AP only. I myself just recently free marked the IS-7 without shooting a single APCR. Well, okay, up to 80%. I probably have shot APCR, but after that, I didn't shot a single APCR round. And only had AP and HE without any rations, you know. So I was literally just playing like a free-to-play player on this IS-7 and it worked. Point is that I don't think, in an ideal world, every single round should have the same amount of cost. And it should be balanced around their effectivity. So, for example, if one round does, I don't know, it's a very hard thing, and the more I think about it, the more complicated it gets. But just saying that the pure balancing value is what's called the rounds, or rather the price, is bad in my opinion. Because as already mentioned, you literally can only use premium account and shoot rounds like days. Next question. Leo 1 and SB1 changes received well. How about changes for E50M, AMX30B, T62A? What about 430 uners? Andre says, yes, we do have plans for the tanks to find a niche for them. Sandbox tests later this year. E50M, yes, definitely. And during the live stream, this was actually very fun. Andre, as well as Maxim, said that the E50M is one of their first tier 10 tanks and actually one of their favorite ones. So, actually some Waraboos in Wargaming's headquarters, apparently. And again, don't forget, this was an NA live stream and not something for EU or especially German release, which I'm going to do after this one, to do it in German. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. They really do want to find for every single tank a niche, and I think this is simply impossible when you have 69 tier 10 vehicles, okay, minus 5 artilleries, but let's just say we have 56 tier 10 vehicles which need to have every single different role. You simply can't achieve that. Just make some tanks be a little bit more similar than others and maybe tweak a little bit around, you know, make another sniper, heck. Let's have another Leopard 1 type of tank with great DPM, but instead of high alpha it has small alpha, you know. It gives variety, because I personally would have enjoyed the Leopard 1 to have much less alpha, like just 350 or 360, but having a higher reload rate. So depending how bad the RNG for you is, you could just, you know, mitigate that with your next shot. But I don't know, it's very interesting part in my opinion. 1-to-1 is in a very hard spot. We want to improve it in some way, similar to the object for 30U, 1-to-1 trying to find a spot for it. So I also recently free marked the 1-to-1. It is fucking garbage, and sorry for the F word, but yeah, it's just garbage, period. It's super bad, I think. And yeah, I would really hope that they would do something for that thing. Um, but just giving it higher DPM is always a little bit tricky, I think. I personally would have loved if they would have given it either incredible great gun handling or super quick aim time. Like after free marking the 1-to-1, the most things which absolutely annoyed me is obviously you don't have a chance against the full 30U, period. But the inability to hit shots reliably on 50 meters because your bloom is tremendously big, you know. So I think by just buffing either aim, giving it a ridiculous good aim time, or insane gun stabilization, that would be great. That would be great for the whole. Like, why doesn't Wargaming make the 1-to-1 play similar to the Guerrilla 15? Horrendously bad soft stat when it comes to aim, when it comes to good turret traverse and bloom, you know, of the gun. But insanely strong aim time. Why not that? That would make this tank, in my opinion, something very unique. 440 Alpha, zoom, super quick aim time, and it's something unique. Boom! You already have found a little weird niche, but slap on a little bit more mobility, and bada boom, bada booyah, you're finished. You have balanced a new tank, and you'll see how it goes. Make it for the whole line, and maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, then redo it, do it. Seriously. I don't know. It would be fun. Anyway, the next question was, I think, also from Cody or from Disciple, where it comes about the T110E5 getting changed. And many people say it still feels too similar to the S-Cock, and why not give it 10 degrees of gun depression? Why not make it more similar to the M454? And honestly speaking, when Andre literally said, oh, I didn't really dove into that part myself, I'm going to throw the suggestion to the head of balancing. God darn it! Like, this idea of making the M54 Renegade or the T110E5 play like the M54 Renegade was thrown around so much in forums, in videos, in Reddit, and just now they're putting it to the head of balance. Obviously, it might already have been known, but it just leaves a sore feeling on your tongue. Like, it's just such a awkward feeling, and just feels like, what are you doing? But maybe this idea will be tested with making the tank play more like the M54 Renegade. I would love this, seriously. Great gun handling, great DPM, has two great weak spots, but when you are hiding them, it's very, very strong. And especially 17 kph backwards. That's insanely good compared to what the S-Cock has with 12. Seriously. That would be great. I would 100% sign this and say, yes, give me an E5 like this. But yeah, what about removing the cupola? Basically, no, we are not, since this is how the tank looked like. The T10E series was an interesting project. It was originally designed, the T110E3 specifically, that it can fight in an underground tunnel in the Alps. What? So the tank's origins were really niche. We are not removing the cupola. Interesting to know that World of Tanks Blitz do not have the cupola. However, again, if Wargaming decides to make the T110E5 play more like the M54 Renegade, I have to say, perfect. Don't mind the cupola. Oh boy, this we already have in the other Q&A, so it's a little bit of a repeat, but a lot of players agree that both the Chief-Tart and the 279E influenced tier 10 matches far more than other tanks. We see the proof in many competitive tier 10 battles that feature almost entirely those two tanks. Does WG have any plans to rebalance the Chief-Tart and the Object 279? And Andre saying, plans for the Chief-Tart and 279, I especially had a call meeting about that today. They make a speculated answer on how we will deal with these tanks. One of which is matchmaking changes, up to possibly banning those tanks from banning in ranked battles that are reward tanks or the mirror in the matchmaking. So either they want to ban them in ranked battles altogether, which I would highly say was a good idea, or they want to mirror them in matchmaking. However, I have to say, look, in the other Q&A, they literally said that the problem is that so many people got them now for so easily. When the Chief-Tart came out, it was very hard to get. So now it is much more easier to get it. Because, you know, in our EU server, 11,000 Chieftains was given out. Or literally 11,000 reward tanks were given out. And I saw the numbers. I think it was around 7 to 10,000 chieftains were picked. Like, that's insane if you think about it. And interestingly enough, for Clan Wars, I am in contact with one of the Clan Wars officials for planning Clan Wars events, and we talked about this just yesterday. Like, why not, for example, say maximum of this and this amount of chieftains and this amount of 279s per game, and or for example, make the base front be non-reward tanks only or something, you know? And literally both things got declined. So that's a bit of a pity. I said he should just shout at them and say, just do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a pity. Maybe the more the people get their pitchforks and stuff, they're going to change it, but it's will be hard to say, you know? Players that get them take a ton of effort to get them. We don't want to piss people that earned them off. Don't want to start by nerfing them without possibly buffing them to rebalancing. This is also something I talked about with a friend yesterday during just a little bit of a beer and chat, you know? And we were talking about that it feels like Wargaming does want to make reward tanks to be more centered around tier 9. Did you notice how many new tier 9 reward tanks were introduced into the game? K91-2, Kampfpanzer 50T, Concept 1B, Stritzwagen K, Judas 03 Alt 03, Object 752. Literally 6 reward tanks on tier 9. And this makes sense, because Wargaming doesn't want to push more reward tanks on tier 10, which might cause even more disturbance to the force, or the balance in that sense. I like the approach, because in the end, tier 10 is like the end game, and a lot of people want to play tier 10. But at another point, I'm just a little bit scared that maybe tier 9 starts to get to be like tier 10, you know? The only good thing is that so far there is no competitive part in tier 9 yet. I personally would say, why not make one ranked season focus around tier 7? Issue E25. Why not make one focused around, I don't know, tier 8? Defender, EBRs, and Projettos, obviously. Why not make it around tier 9? There are tons of options which World of Warships already shown us can work. So, Wargaming, just take the dive. Just take the plunge and maybe make the new ranked season tier 9. I don't know. Would be cool. Would be cool to see. But yeah, ranked battles in CV maybe have special restrictions on provinces that are certain tiers on certain nations. That is a cool idea. Like, for example, say in Zurich you're only allowed to use tier 9 tanks which are German, for example. Long-term plan intention on involving Clan Wars with a separate team developing that. That's an interesting idea. So that's cool to note that they say, hey, that's a good idea. Let's try that, maybe. It's also good to see that they want to make Clan Wars a little bit interesting. I only really play Clan Wars campaigns. Clan Wars I play here and there a little bit, which is a pity for our clan. But yeah. 7 versus 7 or 9 versus 9 Clan Wars. They have different CV ideas, but we want to include smaller clans into the global map. Moving towards line of Crusader Kings, adding in politics, large and small clans, more depth. Yes, there will be more changes. Again, this is also something I talked about with the CV Clan Wars official, which is planning with Clan Wars. And it's interesting that he also said they want to make it that new players or noob clans in the kind of sense also have a chance of getting. Obviously, the ELO system is great for that purpose. But still, at the moment, I'm just a little bit... I don't really know what they want to do to make it more fair when, for example, let's be honest, there are people out there which are selling 279 missions, like which make you 279 missions for, I don't know, $400 or something. Well, for example, let's take, we have XY Epsilon as a clan with average 800 WN8, which is now fighting against another 800 WN8 average clan, which is called ABC, and they don't have 279s, and XY Epsilon has, I don't know, has 3 279s because they are whales, and they're like, look at me, I got all the money, you know? How do you want to balance that? I don't know, it's hard. It's hard, I guess. Next thing. T3485M, maybe antenna physics or other interactive elements on tanks. We like to test features on a limited scale before adding them on a massive scale. You are correct in physics and tank customizations. Did you remember the T3485 one? It had a new flag, which was made for Victory Day as far as I know. It will be free for everybody. And as far as I know, and yes, it's a flag. It literally is a flag which moves and works, more or less. So they are doing those elements, and you will see another thing in this QnA, which is very interesting, that sometimes wargaming is doing tests on very small scales, but without really telling us the intention, which is also bad. And you know why? Because you will see it then. You will see it then. Minsk rework changes coming. Yes. We are ready in Minsk changes. It passed testing. However, the other issue is historical things. Come on! Seriously, this is an arcade game. Just give us the map which is better to play on. Seriously. But Pearl River will be released soon. Oh my god, I'm so hyped for Pearl River. I'm so missing this map, and I'm so looking forward to see this map again. It's such a great map for me back in the days. I'm really looking forward to that one. Next thing, Soapbox, any updates? Yes, they are working in improving it with the Havok engine. The issue is Havok has a lower resolution than their own physics engine, and it was not made to play on servers. So they have a little bit of issues right there, especially because before 1.0, the rocks were not modeled individually, and now they are, and this can apparently lead to those modeled rocks to be, well, slippery. I look forward to this because it's super annoying. There was a talk when 1.0 released in 2018 if either reworking or enlarging several maps. Are there any such plans? We removed maps in 1.0 since we wanted to release ones that worked the best. Old maps that were not working were removed due to gameplay. Then, not possible to fix easily and rework from scratch, for example, Windstorm, Stalingrad and South Coast. I don't know, South Coast was okay. Windstorm, or I think this was Severogorsk. Weird, I guess. In such maps as Mines and Ensk, the problem is enlarging also takes a lot of work and needs to be done as a re-envisionment of those maps. Really hard to re-envision Mines and Ensk. Right now we are focused on bringing back maps such as Pearl River, Berlin and also new maps, which is okay, I guess. We need more new maps, desperately, in my opinion. After that, we will either make new maps or try to rework or bring back maps specifically like Windstorm, South Coast and Stalingrad, or try to rebalance maps in the game already. This year, 2020, Pearl River and Berlin, also new maps in game modes like the Steel Hunter, will get a unique new map. Maps are a bigger part of 2021's plans, so that's cool to see. We are getting 2 new maps this year at least. Maybe a third one we get a third one for Steel Hunter. But the biggest thing will be 2021 will be focused around maps. So that's cool to see. Unique audio experiences with maps. Any plans to add more sounds for tanks and engines? And basically they're saying yes. Issue is that there's one specific limitation. And World of Tanks is still a game which is very, very big in Russia. And in Russia, many people have potato PCs. It sounds rude, but in Russia it's very expensive for like percentage-wise for you to buy something like a good PC. And this is why, for example, shot noises need a lot of memory and they can simply overload such systems. Then again, I have to say, wargaming, why not do it again with SD sounds and HD sounds? You're still appealing the broader market, which is European and again, I think Europe is a very big market when it comes to income. Appease us! That's what I want to say. Battle hits being added to the game, armor viewer into the game. This is also something which is being talked about in the other QnA, so it's a spoiler for that one. But the issue is, the battle hits they are working on adding more mods, possibly even the battle hits mod, which allows you to like see where your enemy hit you. Point is about the armor viewer, they don't want to implement them correctly or at the level of how the server sees it, because this would lead for aimbots and cheats to work better. Because apparently websites like Game Model 3D, websites like tanks.gg do not have the perfectly accurate damage models. They are roughly perfect, but they are external. They are not, implemented into the client, because if they are implemented into the client, those damage models, properly, then you could easily just rip them out and use them for an aimbot. Then again, get a better aimbot protection. I don't fucking know. Frontline redesigned the minimap into HD, just into frontlines. Then random battles HUD is old and outdated. They are actively working on improving it, and so on and so forth. Incorporate every mod. Why not just buy those mods? They're saying, hey, we can do it better, and we can work better on them for our specific purposes, plus bugs and safety testing. Fair enough. Any plans to add Latin American tanks or other nations with smaller amount of tanks? Again, yes, collector tanks for future nations and tanks in the future that don't fit into a full tech tree. But this year, 3 nations. Polish tanks? What are you talking about? Do we need I don't want to make the Polish community which is following me angry, but are there any more napkin drawings we are getting? Like, kurwa mać, why? Sorry, but I'm a little bit blown out of the water, because there are literally so many proposals for real tech trees, but Polish? And they're literally saying that the Japanese TDs are not yet ready. Like, World of Tanks Blitz literally just got the Japanese TDs. What the hell are you doing? Work together. I can't say it else. Work together, Wargaming. I don't get it. However, 3 nations, again, Polish tanks. Then we are getting the Italian heavy tanks, as far as I know, will be for 2020. And one more, which might be Latin America, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that's about it. Any plans for expanding Twitch Prime? They're saying yes, they do want to do, but they are still discussing Twitch drops and finalizing everything. 10th year anniversary event, yes, August. We are planning something very special and very big, but they won't spoil it yet. Cosmetics, camouflage, and extra goodies in August, and much more later in the 10th year celebration. Again, we are still in the start of this 5-month-long event. Slow but steadily, it's getting more and more and more. Don't forget, they said that there will be more coming. They will be all added together. Maybe there will be even tanks in the shop. We do not know yet. How was the anonymizer being received by VG? We are really happy with how it was implemented, and streamers love it. Again, it's a great thing for people which, it is a great thing, period. If you don't want to get stream sniped 24/7 or stat sniped in that kind of sense. I personally think I'm not too good enough to constantly get stream sniped. XVM sniped. Sometimes I do, however, put it on when I really want to get a tank's gun mark and I really want to have the best odds of getting it. On the other hand, I have super high respect from Skill. Skill for LT is an absolutely madman for not using the anonymize, even while free marking the chieftain. Like kudos to him, seriously. Regarding the Battle Pass, is there any chance that for further installments the players will be able to receive progressions while playing other modes? I'm going to cut this down a little bit. They're saying there will be Battle Pass 2, for example, will be a relaunch of Battle Pass 1 with smaller changes. But the third Battle Pass, which will be coming in 2021 apparently, it will be much more complicated and much more interesting. About the price, they're saying they want to make different paths for it, and they're saying that they are adding different purchasing options maybe. And they can't really implement them. We are wanting to add more progression paths in different modes. Not in modes with special tanks, but definitely usual modes as Grand Battles and Frontline, for example. But again, it's not easy to implement. That's their thing. I get it, but for example, rank battles, it's literally just random battles. So why is this a problem? I don't know. Frontline, I understand. Frontline will be more annoying. Grand battles literally do the same thing like in normal battles. Like, I don't get it. But yeah. Have you considered adding in premium tanks into the game to purchase with credits as rentals? Then you can purchase it for gold. Or how about turning in or boosting a normal tank into a premium tank? Great questions, whoever asked that. And here is the second thing I talked about like 10 minutes ago. If you recall, Christmas 2020, allowing people to add bonuses to tanks. This was an actual test of a feature like this. The community didn't respond as highly of it as we thought, so the priority isn't super high, but we are considering it. This, like, I'm mad at this at the moment. I literally do not get how ridiculously wrong wargaming is in that point. They are literally hiding this feature from us by changing it so it feels like it's a downgrade from last year. Because we were expecting that will be the same thing as last year, where we can just have all the bonuses all the time. And now they're saying, oh, it was a test for showing if we could make normal tanks into premium tanks. Like, this is like, it really makes me mad at how stupid this actually is, this idea of how they looked at this. I didn't expect this to be a test for making normal tanks into premium tanks. I was just like, oh, it's a downgrade from the last year's thing. And I think I'm almost 100% sure that 99.5% of people which looked at this feature and were sad about it thought the same thing as I did. That it was a downgrade from 2019's Christmas event, where you had always the bonuses for every single country and stuff, you know? Super weird. Super duper duper weird. Seriously. I would have loved to make tanks like with a, I don't know, talisman like in War Thunder to make them be premium. But that thing right here, I simply don't get. Like, this makes me super furious, to be honest. But yeah. Rentals, try before you buy tanks. We see that in Frontline already, where you can buy it at the end of a discount. We are positive we are looking into adding in rental features to try a tank before buying in full. Or at least in a full game. And Max is saying, or Maxime, if you see new mechanics on live server, even small, then it's usually a test of a feature coming into the game in a further or larger scale. Used to gather more data, mainly before full release. Makes sense, makes sense. Again, you can see it with the T-3485 Rudy, which is probably, it might even be a test for other tanks, you know, for other tank lines. Maybe for a Swiss Tank 3, where we will get the MUTs as one of their tanks. But yeah, any Italian heavy updates? Not yet. Okay, this will be very interesting, because this is about the crew rework, which was already very, very weird. So, what is the small story? They overcomplicated the explanation a bit in another stream, so it explain it better here. We want a skill tree, also one commander per tank. We also want this new commander to drive multiple tanks without having to relearn tanks. That makes sense. Also want it to be customizable. Counselor add in skill points to specific skills. Will be prominent famous characters such as Santa or someone like General Patton, George Patton. These counselors will add special points to specific skills, so you don't need to learn certain skills or perks. Multiple builds for the same commander to swap easily, so you can customize your tank specifically to your playstyle. We scrapped the idea of units since it was too complicated. Kept commanders and counselors, and want to have an idea for commanders to drive multiple vehicles in place of the unit idea from before. So, now we just have one commander which can drive several different vehicles. This sounds good. I'm still a little bit unsure with the skill tree. How will this look? Last time we had 5 different subtrees for the 5 different things, for commander, loader, gunner, driver, and radio operator. Will this still be the same? We do not know. But it sounds like Wargaming saw that there were issues with these things. But how OP are people like Santa, George Patton? How will the conversion rate work? Will you have the same system as in World of Warships? Because the more I listen to this or read this, the more it sounds a little bit like World of Warships, which I don't really necessarily think is a bad system. It's actually a pretty decent system. So I really want to find more things about this. It sounds very interesting. Seriously, very interesting. Great that one commander can drive multiple vehicles, and that you can swap between those things as you wish. That's a very cool and neat idea. We'll be seeing how this goes out, and I look forward to the first sandbox of testing those new crews. Question from the chat: how will you convert over the new crew 2.0? We are making sure that it's transferred over properly to compensate everyone, because that is important. I already had a chat yesterday again with a friend, which he said he doesn't want that his 7 per crew will be shit, you know? All the time, all the effort going in it, I don't want it to be shit. I get that. However, interesting crew facts: only a little bit over 1,000 people in the world have over 11 perks. Congrats to them. Any word on third set of personal missions? Not really, not right now, no plans. Will we see changes to RT? RT changes not before next Sandbox. They will be in the next round of testing for the player base to test out before release. Now we're finished. 42-minute long video because again it was a huge Q&A, and I'm sorry that I had to sprint through some things and I always had to give my personal taste on it. But that's it, that's everything he had. Again, amazing thing that WoT did this, amazing that Maxim and Andre went through this and getting bombarded by things. Obviously, kudos to Cody, to Disciple and Nick Shocks for doing all those questions. I personally went for this versions right here because this one looked a little bit, sometimes a little bit over the top. I'm sorry for that one. But again, kudos to WoT Guru for writing this all up. Seriously, thank you so much for being the protocol dude out there. I did want to do it, but then I just remembered, darn it, I don't have the time for that. So yeah, that's everything we had. For today, there's one more thing. I did try something out in this video, and it is called RTX Voice. I do have an RTX compatible graphic card, the 2070 Super, back then when my 980 Ti just killed itself. So I did try to see how noise suppression works, so let me know if you liked it more or liked it less compared to older videos. And as always, if you enjoy such read-ups, thank you so much for watching. Treat it like, I don't know, a podcast, as I already read a lot of the times. And don't forget, if you're new to the channel and like such contents, feel free to leave a sub and a like. If I can do some things better, don't forget to do that. The source to the documents are in the description below, so you can read them up for yourself. I'm always very, very happy to listen to your feedback and listen to what you think about those changes. My name is RagingRaptor, and now I gotta do this in German again. Cheers guys, and I'll talk to you all later in a different video.